Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Todd Klindt's SharePoint Netcast, recorded live Monday, April 7th, 2014. I am your host, and hopefully David Letterman's replacement next year when he retires, Todd Klindt. But until then, until CBS calls me up and makes the whole thing official, I will be slaving away every day for the fine folks at Rackspace. They do all kinds of crazy stuff. They do hosting, and they host Linuxy stuff and Microsoft stuff and SharePoint stuff and all kinds of great stuff. And so if you've got any questions about any of the fine services that my coworkers at Rackspace provide, go out to http://sharepoint.rackspace.com. You can see all about our SharePoint services. You can play that fun game that we made. It used to be called Fanatablast. I don't know what it's called this week. All kinds of great stuff. And there's links to this podcast, and there's all kinds of online webcasts and things and white papers and all that kind of stuff. But definitely go out to sharepoint.rackspace.com. Get in the little chat box there. Tell them Todd sent you. They would love it. They're big fans of mine in the chat box in there. And when you talk on the chat box, it is actually a picture of the person. Honest to goodness, those are not models. Those are, no, that's complete lies. Those are models. I have no idea who those people are. But definitely good stuff out there at sharepoint.rackspace.com. For the production notes, I think the production stuff's all going pretty well. We got the lighting's going better. We got that. So thanks to Jack in the chat room. I think Jack's still in the chat room. Jack was running a Target tonight instead of watching the Netcast, so I don't know if he made it or not. But, so Jack is the one who hooked me up with the lights here. We still got to get that all nailed down, but I think we're getting close. The sound, the audio, I think is doing better. Again, we all owe Mario thanks for that. Mario Brandon, I believe his name is. But he's the one who helped me get the audio figured out. Actually downloaded and installed Camtasia, since that's what I use to edit this whole mess is Camtasia. He downloaded and installed Camtasia so that he could play with the audio settings and see what I needed, and then sent me that. Wrote up this Word document, put screenshots in. The amount of work that Mario put into helping me fix the audio is more work than I put into the Netcast itself, just so you know. No surprise to the longtime listeners. But so thanks to that, I think that's all gone very well, and I think Mario was a big help there. So thanks to Mario for that. But otherwise, production's going well. Last week, I got everything rendered and edited and everything super fast. Got the video up on YouTube, got the videos and the audio uploaded to the hosting site. Edited all my RSS stuff, got it all done, and then forgot to upload my RSS files. And I actually do subscribe to my own podcast on my phone. That's kind of how, one of the ways that I keep track of it. So today at lunch, I was out running some errands and looking at podcasts to listen to on my drive, and looked at my own podcast down there and saw that there weren't any new episodes, and it was because I hadn't uploaded or updated my RSS feed. So I went ahead and did that, so that should be up there pretty quick. So sorry about that. The videos and audio are out there. Again, if you go out to youtube.com/Todd Klindt Netcast, that's probably going to be the first place that this shows up, because I can just drag it over there after I edit it out, and I can get it over there pretty quickly. Now the time signatures and all that kind of stuff might take a day or two to show up, but I can just drag the video over there, so that's a great place. The audio is normally the next thing, and if you're tricky, you can figure out where I'm hiding those files are at, hiding those files at, and then you can just go look for them. But the MP3 file gets uploaded pretty quick because I don't have to do any of the editing stuff, put the lower thirds on or any of that kind of thing. But I apologize. I got everything done, just forgot to do that. Now, that does remind me, though, and we're going to talk about this later in the in the Netcast tonight, some of the things that I'm doing to automate my Netcast, PowerShell and all that. I will remedy this situation by next week, I promise. But other than that, production stuff went well. On to topics. So, Anybody heard anything about SharePoint this week? Anything going on? Yeah, a little story broke in the old SharePoint community this week. Happened Wednesday, Thursday, something like that. We found out that Service Pack 1, I guess it was Thursday morning, we found out that Service Pack 1 for SharePoint 2013 had been yanked. Dun, dun, dun. So turns out that Service Pack 1 has a pretty nasty little bug in it that doesn't allow you to put any more patches on your servers. Yeah, that's a problem. So I can only imagine that Microsoft started testing the April cumulative update and they found out they couldn't install it on any of the machines that have Service Pack 1 on it. So they pulled it Thursday morning, and they just kind of added a little blurb to the knowledge base article, and then they yanked the download. So it really makes me think about that great cat picture that I posted last week. Which, if the the editing gods work with me, I'll throw that in right here. But that whole 99 patches, take one down, patch it around, 127 bugs now. Well, now we patched SharePoint with SP1, and we just have one bug left, and it's that nasty bug where you can't install any patches. So Jim in the chat room is asking that question. How do you uninstall Service Pack 1? Well, Jim, I've got good news for you. You can't. You can't uninstall any SharePoint patches ever. Never have been able to. As soon as those binaries touch the disk, you are committed. So that brings up a couple of questions that people have had, and I put up the blog post on there called "Don't Install Service Pack 1," and that kind of covers my my thoughts on the thing. But we'll kind of go over those again. My Windows will cooperate here. So the first and most urgent question is, I've got Service Pack 1 installed. What do I do? And again, the answer for that one is easy. Stay the course. You can't uninstall Service Pack 1, so that's not an option. It's just not possible. So stay the course. Now, Microsoft has said that they will provide a patch that fixes this, and it's not lost on me that they're going to provide a patch for the patch that breaks the ability to install more patches. I know when you say it like that, it sounds silly, but that's what they're going to do. They're going to release something at some point that will replace the ability to put patches on your SharePoint farm. So those of you that have Service Pack 1 installed, you're there. You can't uninstall anything. But Microsoft, they have to fix this. They won't not fix this. So you have to, so you just hang out. Just keep up on my blog. I will absolutely blog whenever that patch is available, and I will absolutely tweet it. Also, if you're not already doing it, you can follow me on Twitter at SP2013patches. And that, as soon as I find out about that, I will tweet that out and I will blog it in every way. So any way you follow me on social media, whatever, as soon as I get my hands on that patch that fixes the patch that breaks patching, I will let you all know about it. So the second question I got a lot starting Thursday and all through the weekend was, I'm getting ready to install SharePoint. What should I do? Well, obviously, I truly believe that Microsoft's going to come up with a patch for this. So if you did install SharePoint 2013 tomorrow and did install it and patched it with Service Pack 1, it's not the end of the world because they're going to do something to fix this. But honestly, I wouldn't do it. I would hold off. So if I was going to install Service Pack or SharePoint 2013 tomorrow, there's a couple of different things. I would try to wait if I could, just to kind of see how this whole thing shakes out. Give them a week, something like that. Number two, if you can't wait, then I would install it and then, fail back to something better, like the March 2013 public update, something like that. Your third option is if you're on MSDN, the MSDN ISO for SharePoint 2013 that has Service Pack 1 built into it does not have this problem. So if you are on MSDN and use that ISO to install a fresh farm, you're safe so long as none of your machines are actually patched to Service Pack 1. They start out at Service Pack 1, you're okay. Now, Eric in the chat room is saying that slipstreaming is fine. I'm probably going to get pedantic on that. I don't believe the MSDN ISO is slipstreamed. It's just built in. So to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, slipstreaming is putting the patch in the updates directory, and the MSDN ISO does not have Service Pack 1 in the updates directory. It's got it built into the installer. So if you've got the MSDN ISO, I'm assured that will work. But don't think you can build the same thing by taking an RTM download and slipstreaming it in. And if you go to my blog, there's a bunch of blog posts on slipstreaming. That will not work. So the MSDN ISO or nothing. But again, if you do install it, they're gonna fix it. It'll be. But I would just avoid it. I would avoid it. Who knows what's going to go on? The next question that I've gotten from a few customers is, they're already testing SP1 in their test environment. Should they quit? Should they whatever? No, go ahead. Those are still good tests. There's still all the other things that you're going to want to test. Keep an eye on that. You're just going to have one more thing to test. When that fix comes out, you're going to have to put that against your test environment. I'm sure they're going to re-release Service Pack 1 with this fix built in. So, but I would kind of hold off. Just keep testing it. All that. So Brian LaLancette in the chat room has a good explanation for it. The MSDN ISO has Service Pack 1 integrated, not slipstreamed. So slipstreaming doesn't get you around this. So a lot of conversation about that. There's a bunch of comments on my blog post about it, and so keep an eye on that. It's an evolving thing. It's been a huge deal. We talk about waiting till you put patches on. This is one of those reasons. Now, this patch has been out. This is a service pack, so it's been tested within an inch of its life for months now, and it's been out for 40 days-ish before this came out. I was kind of surprised to see a problem of this caliber show up now, but it happens. And a lot of people on my blog have been, complaining about Microsoft and all that. It's not like there's one guy and his dog that are in charge of patching SharePoint. There's a bunch of really smart people. It's just a really big product. This kind of stuff just happens. They do everything they can to prevent it from happening. Sometimes it just happens. So cut them some slack. It'll get working. So so Doug Heminger in the chat room's got his hand up. He says, I installed SP1 and am awaiting an urgent fix in a CU coming out soon, as promised by Microsoft. How do I get the fix in? I don't think you do, Doug. I think they're going to give you that fix, and it's just not going to install. I don't think that's going to work. But absolutely, Doug, you've got my email address and all that. If you find something out, give me a shout and let me know. I would love to hear what your story is. So keep on my blog, keep on Twitter and all that, and I will let you know as soon as I know anything about what's next for Service Pack 1. Now on to happier news. This was a fun one. Joanne in the chat room, Joanne Klein, tweeted this out this weekend, and I really liked it. It's something that Jeff Jones, Jeff Jones is in the chat room, and this is a little blog post that he's got about changing the theme on Central Admin. And I really like this because we've all done that thing where we've got, production environment, a couple of test environments, and maybe a dev environment. And we get working, we get the tunes jamming or whatever, Archer playing on Netflix, whatever you do during the day. And we end up in Central Admin on the wrong box and don't realize it. Delete the wrong web app, do whatever, hilarity ensues, that whole thing. So I like Jeff's idea. Jeff's idea was to change the color theme on production Central Admin or something. I like production. Changing it to something obvious so that when you go to that Central Admin, it just looks different. Now, I've done that in the past. In older versions of SharePoint, done a similar thing. The theming stuff is not readily available inside of Central Admin. They've kind of got it hidden, but the page is still there. So if you know what page you're looking for, you can go to it, and Jeff's got it in his blog post. It's at /layouts. _layout/15/designgallery.aspx. And then you can change the look. Now, what I do is take that URL, and on the right-hand side of Central Admin, so on this side for you, on this side for me, you've got those links lists. Just drop a link to that in there. So if you ever need to change it back to something else, you can do that. So what I used to do in the past when I did this with other farms is I would make Central Admin, you would have some kind of a red background or red thing. So you're like, stop, this is a big deal. So I just hadn't thought about it lately, but that's a really great idea. It doesn't cost you anything, but you can go ahead and change that. So thanks to Jeff. And Jeff's got a bunch of Codeplex stuff. When you go to Jeff's blog post on the top right there, he's got some of his his Codeplex projects. He's got a great warm-up script one, some other stuff. So check that out and give Jeff some downloads there on Codeplex. That was a good one. I really like that one. Simple, clever. I'm a big fan of it. On to our next topic. This was a short one. I just kind of wanted to remind everybody about this one because it came up last week here at work. Not going to spend a lot of time on it, but just a cautionary tale. And this is a blog post from Kirk Evans from a couple of years ago on how the MySite cleanup timer job works. And we're not going to get into it a whole lot, but a couple of things you need to keep in mind is, the user profile service has a MySite cleanup timer job that deletes stale MySite. So when people leave the company, things like that, kind of keeps everything orderly. But it's an insidious little stinker in that when it determines that a MySite should be deleted, it kind of writes on its hand, hey, don't forget to delete Todd's MySite, and it makes it wait for 14 days. So you don't immediately think that something that you did is going to delete any MySites because nothing happens for 14 days. My guidance for customers on this is always, if you're ever going to do anything with the user profile service, disable that timer job first. Because much like Kirk's blog post, which you can't see, but it's in that monitor right over there, if you do something like if you're playing with your synchronization filters or something, and you screw a filter up, and that timer job runs before you fix it, if you screw that filter up in such a way that that a bunch of your accounts don't show up, and then you fix it right away, but if that timer job ran and it can't find those accounts for one run, it's going to tag all their MySites as to be deleted in 14 days. So nothing's going to happen right away, and you're going to go on about your day and not even notice, and then 14 days later, all these MySites are going to disappear. Hopefully you've got good backups. So anytime you're messing with any of your permissions or any of that kind of stuff in user profile service, consider shutting that job off. That job is kind of a scary one. I wouldn't look down on you if you just shut that job off permanently. I don't know. That's it's kind of an ugly one. But keep track of that. But again, make sure all your stuff's getting backed up. Your MySite content databases are getting backed up. Things like that. Because that little thing can sneak up on you. Got to be careful with that one. So thanks to Kirk for that blog post. All of Kirk's blog posts are awesome. So definitely check that one out. This was a fun one that Mary Jo Foley of allaboutmicrosoft.com tweeted out. I know a few of you guys in the chat room here, and myself included, I got these things all over, have these little Microsoft Surfaces. And so Mary Jo Foley's got a couple of Surfaces, and she tweeted out this Kickstarter project that makes these little plastic ears that sit on top of your Surface Pro mainly. Not only are they just flat out adorable, but they sit over the speakers in the corners and project the sound toward you as opposed to off to the side. So you can actually hear the sound coming from your Surface Pro if you're not in a quiet room where you're listening to pins drop. So it's a Kickstarter project. It's super cheap. I think the ears are like 10 or 15 bucks, something like that, to get one set of ears that just plop on. So for me, I travel a lot, so they'd be great in hotel rooms. Just kind of drop them on so I can hear music or whatever's coming out of my my Surface Pro. But really like that idea. Cheap, easy, get out there, support those Kickstarters. And again, they just look just adorable, just cute as a button, those little ears. You want ears on your Surface. You know you do. You know you do. So go out there and support that guy. Okay, so for the rest of the show, and I see him running out of time. Last week, a whole bunch of things got announced. So last week was this little conference out in San Francisco, little thing that Microsoft likes to call Build, big developer conference, and a whole bunch of things got talked about at Build. I don't have time to talk about all of them here. I wouldn't even begin to know how to talk about all of them here. But there were a few great things that came out of Build and just out of Microsoft. Last week was a huge week for Microsoft. Oh my goodness. There was like a 6-day span where it was just great to be in the Microsoft ecosystem last week. So I'm going to cover a few of the things, and I'm going to miss a bunch. I know I am, but it just kind of gets you out there looking at stuff and hopefully finding some other cool stuff. So one that came near and dear to my heart is they've released the preview for PowerShell version 5. Not 3, not 4. Oh no, PowerShell version 5. And if you go out to MikeFRobbins.com, Mike Robbins is a PowerShell MVP. Good guy, all kinds of great PowerShell posts. You should read all of them. He's got 2 blog posts that are particularly helpful for those of us that like to play with PowerShell. The first is just how to install the preview of PowerShell version 5. It's actually not obvious. It comes as part of something else, so you have to install something else, and then PowerShell version 5 shows up. So he walks you through all that, pictures, all that stuff. Good blog post, Mike. Looks good. Then his next blog post is a new piece of functionality inside of PowerShell version 5 called OneGet. And what that is going to do for us is that's going to give us functionality inside of PowerShell that's kind of like apt-get, which is a Linux thing, a Debian thing, where you can install programs from the command line from a repository. There's this, and for the Windows side, we've had it for a while. It was a third-party thing called Chocolatey that you could install. And then people would submit Chocolatey packages for things like 7-Zip and WinRAR and all these, Notepad++, all these great third-party utilities that everybody uses. They are all out there in these little repositories. So what PowerShell v5 adds is the ability to do that kind of thing with PowerShell now. So now it's kind of like the next step of DSC. PowerShell version 4 introduced this thing called desired state configuration, which is a way to configure machines, PowerShell is really just the front end for it, but the way to configure machines, kind of like GPOs and things like that. And I kind of feel like this whole OneGet thing is the next version of that. So now we can do applications and the OS. It's pretty cool stuff. So on a test box, go out there, install the PowerShell v5 stuff, and go through Mike's blog post and see how to get OneGet set up and all that. It's really cool, and I think it's the way things are moving. And I talked about this a few months ago when Windows Server 2012 R2 came out. The default configuration was, command line only, console only. Definitely this is some place that Microsoft is going. This is definitely something that they want to work towards. So I think we're going to be seeing more of this kind of thing, not less. So getting your feet wet with PowerShell version 5 and all the OneGet stuff will only help you down the road. When all of your fellow coworkers are resisting PowerShell and resisting all the cool stuff, you'll be like, no, boss, I got this one. And you'll be out there clickety-click, add module, OneGet, and making it all work. In the chat room, Bob is asking which version or which patch for SharePoint 2013 will make SharePoint work with PowerShell 5. Well, I don't know if you've heard, Bob, but there are no more patches. Service Pack 1 is it. It's the ultimate one. You can't install any more patches after that. No, I don't think there's probably anything out for a while because, again, this is just a preview and Microsoft never goes out of their way to support previews, but it does raise an interesting point. When you start playing with this preview, don't do it on PowerShell or on SharePoint servers. If you've got a Windows 8 box somewhere or a Windows 7 box, I think it'll even work. Do it on there or a server that's a test server of some sort. But I'm pretty sure it's going to break SharePoint. Now, for those of you that have SharePoint 2010, which uses PowerShell 2, the sequel, you can install PowerShell 3, but you have to go in there and tweak things around so that when SharePoint loads up, it uses version 2. I would guess there's going to be some sort of analogous way to do that with PowerShell 5, that you can get it to pop up as 3. But I would be careful. I wouldn't do that on a production server. Do it on a test server, do it on a lab server, whatever. But I wouldn't do that. Wouldn't do that on production. But you're going to want to go out there and play with all this OneGet stuff. It's just super cool. And I'm just looking here at some of the packages that Chocolatey has: Adobe Reader, WinRAR, ImageBurn, AdBlock Plus, 7-Zip. I mean, all kinds of great stuff. So you definitely want to check that out. And that's, again, at MikeFRobbins.com. Good stuff. Lots of great PowerShell stuff out there. Can't miss that. Another blog post that I put out last week, and this is a super exciting one. That's not the one that I want. Did I talk about that last week? I must have. I've published so many blog posts lately that I've kind of lost track. But so this is recorded on April 7th. On April 8th, which is Patch Tuesday, second Tuesday of the month, glorious times for everybody in Microsoft products. Patch Tuesday, some new patches are going to come out for Windows 8.1 and Windows Server 2012 R2. And this is the update. And I thought I talked about this before, but it looks like not. So I've got a blog post on that. Let me throw that in the old chat room. But this is an update to Windows 8.1, not Windows 8. So if you're running Windows 8 RTM, you won't get this. You need to be at Windows 8.1. But this is an update to Windows 8.1. And it's kind of odd a little bit. It adds some functionality, which traditionally service packs are not supposed to do. Yeah, I know Service Pack 1 for SharePoint 2013 added OneNote and Yammer and all that stuff. But traditionally, patches just fix things that are broken. This is being pushed out as a Windows update, being pushed out as a security patch on Windows Update. Excuse me, but it's also going to make a bunch of changes to the interface. So my blog post covers a bunch of that stuff. I've been playing with it for a week or so now. It does a bunch of cool things. So one of the things that it does on your Windows 8.1 start screen is up by your name in the upper right-hand corner. It adds a button for search. So that's in case people don't know that you can just type search. Just type in the search box to get that. And also, it's if your screen is larger than 9 inches and you've got like a laptop device or something like that, not a slate, it's going to add a power button next to your name too. So like my Surface Pro has it, my crappy 5-year-old laptop has it, my adorable, lovely 8-inch Dell Venue Pro does not have it. So I can't even show it to you because it's not on here. But there would normally be a power button on the screen. But I can show you the start button and where the power button would be. So that's another interface thing that you're going to notice. So if you look, let me make sure there's nothing on here that's embarrassing. No, looking good. So if you look up there by my name, and I guess I've got it in the blog post too, you can see a search link. And I'm looking at the wrong monitor. So there, on laptops and all that kind of stuff, there's a power button next to there also. And that's for folks that question that we've all had for the past 2 years with Windows 8 and Windows 2012. How do you shut this thing off? Well, I think they've fixed that once and for all. Another thing that they've added is if you install this on a desktop device, so again, not a slate, something like that, it's automatically going to switch you to boot to desktop. You can switch it back, but it's going to change that functionality, the default functionality, so be ready for that. It's kind of jarring the first time it happens, but it's okay. It's okay. It's all good. But you'll be able to switch that. Another big thing that it does is it allows the ability to put shortcuts to Metro apps on the taskbar and to show them on the taskbar. And to kind of get you started, it puts a shortcut to the Windows Store on there. So kind of there's a lot of bones thrown out to the desktop folks with this patch. So it's good stuff. But that's one of them you can have. You know, I got a shortcut to solitaire now in my taskbar. So on those meetings I'm on, I can be click, click, click. But as part of that, if you're on a desktop machine and you have a mouse, if you have a Metro app, which are full screen by nature, if you've got a mouse, you can go up to the right-hand corner, and there will be a minimize and a close button, which is kind of nice. And if you don't have that whole let me put Metro apps in my taskbar, then you're just going to have the close button. But now there's no trying to pull it and pull it down and figure out how to do that. Now you can just click, and it'll kill the Metro app. There's about a million other things that are great in there. That's going to come out tomorrow. Again, you need to have Windows 8.1 on there, and it will come down automatically. Interesting thing about this, it's being pushed out as a Windows patch and a security patch. You will not be able to install any future patches without this update installed. So again, since it makes some UI changes and things like that, I know corporations are going to be hesitant to roll that out right away because they're going to want to test it and, you know, user training and all that kind of stuff. But next month on Next Patch Tuesday, so what is it, May 15th or whatever it is next month, I forget. So close, May 13th. So Next Patch Tuesday, you won't be able to install any security updates if this isn't installed. So get out there. You're going to love it. It's awesome. I've been using it for a week or so. You're going to have a good time with it. I can't believe I didn't put that in my notes. That was a great blog post. I've been blogging a bunch lately, so I missed a couple. There's that. So it's got the reverse. So Brian in the chat room, it's got the reverse Service Pack 1 feature. If you install SharePoint Service Pack 1, you can't install any patches, and if you don't install this one, you can't install any patches. It's pretty funny. So that, but that's a good one. I'm excited about all of that. That's going to be out there. So I guess I got another link in here in my notes about all that. This one on the TechNet blog is pretty good too. So not to be ignored or forgotten, Windows Phone got a huge shout out at Build last week. If you didn't watch any of the Build videos, they streamed it all on Channel 9. It was awesome. But I swear, like, one whole keynote was all about Windows Phone. It is amazing. So Windows Phone 8.1 is coming out, and I forgot to put the link in my notes here. Been a bunch of blog posts on it. I get most of my information from WP Central, which is obviously Windows Phone Central. They've got a whole bunch of things out there on it. And also WinSuperSite. My friend Paul Thurrott, I get a bunch of stuff from him. But Windows Phone 8.1 is going to be gigantic. So again, they spent like a whole keynote on it. They spent a couple hours talking about it. I can't even begin to cover all of it. But there are a few key features that I want to cover. One of them, and probably the coolest one of all, is this key feature called Cortana. Now, those of you that have played any of the Halo games know who Cortana is. Cortana is the Master Chief's AI in his suit, and she helps him with stuff and all that. So Windows Phone 8.1 will have like digital assistant software built into it, so it's voice stuff. So it's along the same lines as Siri or Google Now, but on Windows Phone. It's called Cortana. For a bunch of the canned answers, it actually uses the same voice actress as does the Cortana voice in Halo. It's really cool. And then, the artificially generated voice sounds like her too, so it's kind of cool. And then when you hit the button it hijacks the search button, so you hit the search button and then it comes up to let you know you can talk to it. It's even got like a little pulsing halo. That's kind of how it tells you it's listening. It is really cool. So it's that whole thing where you can just speak questions into it and it will give you live answers back, and it's intelligent in that you can say stuff like, remind me tomorrow at 8 o'clock to walk my dog. And then it will put an appointment in your calendar at 8 o'clock tomorrow to walk your dog. That's nothing new. Siri and Google Now both do that. But they both, there's a creepy factor that comes with them. So Siri can't do all this kind of crazy stuff because it doesn't have access to a bunch of this data. Google Now has access to everything you've ever done and everything you ever will be, and it knows things about you that are just a little unsettling. And there's just no great way to do it. With Cortana, they fell right in the middle. They did the whole, this porridge is too hot, this porridge is too cold, this porridge is just right. So Cortana has access to, and I forget the name that they use for them, what the noun is, but like stores of information about you. And that's how Cortana figures things out about you. So like one of them you could say is, remind me to call my sister at 5. Well, unless Cortana knows who your sister is, that's not very helpful. But if you give Cortana access to your contacts and you've got, Jane Smith tagged as your sister, then Cortana can, dial the phone for you, things like that. Again, Google Now does all that, but it's really crazy. With Cortana, you get to pick and choose what things Cortana has access to, and she actually asks you, hey, can I add this to my notes? So it's kind of like an assistant with cards and all that. And it's really, really interesting how they handle that. And then if you give her access to certain cards and you decide later you don't want to, you can go back and take it out. But I think they did a really good job with that. Now, what I hope is that it doesn't end up being onerous managing all that. Because, we've seen that with like apps in stores. This app wants to have this, and this permission. You have to give it to them. It kind of gets to be a pain. But the Cortana piece is just going to be amazing. And they did a bunch of demos of it. They showed it on, and you got to go out and watch some of the videos on the crazy stuff that Cortana can do. So that's kind of the big one when that comes out. The other thing that they mentioned was that every single phone that today is running Windows Phone 8, every single one of them, my beloved Nokia 920 and the Nokia 520 that I've got in there. Jared in the chat room here, he's got a 1520. It's the size of my head. Every single phone that is running Windows Phone 8 today will get the Windows Phone 8.1 update across the board, every one of them. So there is no question about, I wonder if my phone will get the update. Yes, it will. In the chat room, one of the anonymous chat folks is asking, where does Cortana get this information? Cortana gets that information from Bing. So Cortana is really a front end to Bing, which is why it kind of hijacks the search button there. But then it mixes that information with information on your phone. So your contacts, your social bits, your Facebook, all that kind of stuff, your calendar. And the pieces that are your pieces, your contacts, your calendar, your social stuff, those are the pieces that you have to authorize Cortana to access. And the things that she's going to ask you, she's just going to say, hey, can I add this? Can I look at this information? Jared is saying that his 1520 is not that big. That's because Jared's like 6'6". So to him, it's not that big. To an average-sized individual, it's huge. It's gigantic. It's a beautiful phone, and I am a little jealous, but it's the size of a house. It's like, I once carried a phone and it was this big. That's how the 1520 is. But anyway, everybody who's got Windows Phone 8 now is going to get Windows Phone 8.1. Another thing that they're going to add is this whole notification center and action center. So it's going to be kind of like Android is, where you can scroll down from the top and it's going to have all your alerts and quick things and all that. That's going to be kind of nice. I'm looking forward to that. They also announced a whole slug of new phones. There's more phones than I can count. There's a 930 and all that. Joanne in the chat room, she says that she bought a 1520. She had to buy a bigger purse to hold it. Jared did admit that he does use his 1520 to keep the rain off of his head because he lives in Seattle. It's a huge phone. I'm not judging. I'd love to have one. It's a huge phone. Another interesting thing that they're adding in Windows Phone 8.1 is the ability to have 3 columns of large icons on your phone, and you have to have a screen of a certain size, and I can't remember how big it is, but 4 inches or something like that, and you can get 3 rows as opposed to only getting 2 rows now like we get. They announced that now you'll be able to back up your start screen on your phone, so now you can back up your start screen to get everything set up the way you want, and then if you add another phone or if you wipe your phone, you can restore that. Apps that you don't have installed will show up as gray until you install them, things like that. It's just, I could go on and on. There are so many great things. If you're a Windows Phone owner, go out and spend like 10 minutes and see what's going on with that. It's going to be very exciting. Now, I got you all on Twitter. Now, the people in the chat room are all like, I can't wait to get this update. This is going to be the coolest thing ever. I agree. But now we have to worry about when you're going to get it. So I talked about this before the last update, the blue or black or whatever it was called, update came out. And you can get on this thing, you can register yourself as a Windows Phone developer, and then there's an app you can install, this Windows Phone Developer app or whatever, and it allows you to download updates sooner. It pushes them out sooner. This is not confirmed. This is not gospel. There was no burning bushes involved when I got this information. But it looks like if you're signed up for that and have that installed on your phone, you will get Windows Phone 8.1 a week from today, April 14th. I wouldn't even be a little surprised if that doesn't happen, but that's what I heard on the street. So if you've got that installed, you can get it on the 14th. That won't have any of the carrier things built in. As to when the carriers will push Windows Phone 8.1 out, that's sort of up to them. That's going to be months. That's going to be, I don't know when that's going to be. It depends on if you're on Verizon, if you've got the icon, it's going to be a certain time. If you're on AT&T, it's going to be a different one. I don't know. But you can sign up as a Windows Phone developer for free and then download this app and hopefully get that update in the next 7-8 days, something like that. So I'm super excited about it. I had uninstalled that developer app on my phone. It made me feel a little dirty, honestly, but I reinstalled it in preparation for this. I'm pretty excited. So that is good stuff. I think so. There was some, so VP3 in the chat room is talking about using the Lumias as MP3 players or offline navigation. I absolutely got a 520 and did that same thing. I kind of play with it. I got a 920. The 520 will never replace that as my main phone, but it is a cool little thing to just like play MP3s on and stuff like that. Good stuff. So you can probably still go out there and get a cheap 520 to play with this on. Interesting side topic in the chat room. They're talking about the 1520s and what kind of wireless charging it has. I have a 920 and it has wireless charging built in, and there are sadly 2 wireless charging standards out there. The great thing about standards is you just get so many to choose from. So the 920 on AT&T, it's even got the little AT&T branding up there in the corner. You can see it. This phone, the 920, uses a wireless charging protocol called Qi, which is spelled QI. I always thought wireless charging was kind of dumb until I got this phone, and now I love it. I got wireless chargers everywhere. They work great. And Qi is a standard, so they're Android devices, all that kind of stuff. But then after I got this, AT&T, somebody got a bribe from the other wireless charging standard, and I forget what it's called, PMA or something like that. So now all the new AT&T phones support wireless charging, but they don't support Qi. They support PMA. Jared mentioned that his 1520 that he's got is an international unlocked one. The international Nokia Lumias are Qi. So if that's something you've got now, if you've got a 920 and you want to keep doing the wireless charging thing, consider the unlocked version, something like that. Or just buy all new chargers. It's so awesome. Wireless charging is so awesome. It's absolutely worth it. All right, I need to take a breath. Pretty excited about the Windows 8.1 stuff. Okay. The last thing that I wanted to talk about, and this is, I just had to do this because it's kind of a joke. I have got a 2013 Ford Explorer, and it's got the My Ford Touch stuff, and that's powered by Windows CE in the background. Love it. Mostly bought the vehicle for that functionality. It's great functionality. Then Ford announced that they weren't going to, and I don't know if it's officially yet, but they weren't going to keep going with the Microsoft solution. But I did see on The Verge this week that Microsoft is rejiggering the Windows for the car thing. And so they've got some screenshots of it, and it looks great. It's essentially like Windows 8 in your car, so it's got the tiles and all that. looks great. Would love to have it in my car, but wanted to show that it's, and partially because it lends itself well to great jokes like, if my car crashed as often as Windows crashed, it's going to, because my car is now running Windows. Things about Windows and car windows and know the other car windows, all kinds of stuff. But I hope that something comes from that. Been a big fan of the My Ford Touch in my car. Like I said, started looking at the Fords and the Explorer specifically because of that functionality. Have not been disappointed. It's great. Yeah, and VP3 in the chat room mentions that Ford said that they were looking at QNX, which is something that BlackBerry bought and then worked into their tablets and now is kind of making car things out of it. We'll see. The smart car stuff is awesome. Using my Ford Touch and using my Lumia and all that, it's just amazing what they can do in cars these days. But that was just a great fun story that I wanted to throw out there. All right, folks, that is all that I have. So I've got a couple of blog posts that I have published but haven't talked about yet, just because I haven't had time. So look forward to them next week. I've got a great one on PowerShell that I published yesterday, I think, but I'll talk about that in next week's Netcast. But I know the reason that you're all here is for the shameless self-promotion. Once again, need some theme music for this. For those of you that know that I chat with, I bought a guitar a few months ago. I've been taking guitar lessons. I am absolutely horrible. But my goal would be that I would be able to play, any theme music these sections have. I would play myself. So if that's the case, then the theme music for this session would have to be something like a really terrible rendition of Michael Rowed the Boat Ashore or something like that, with like me squeaking and all that. But I'm on it. I'm going to do it eventually. Okay, for shameless self-promotion, so here in a couple of weeks, we're going to be at SP TechCon in San Francisco. That starts April 22nd, runs through April 25th. Shane and I are doing a couple sessions there. We're doing a upgrade session, a half-day session, 3.5 hours, all on upgrade. If you're going to be doing an upgrade, you need to check that out. We're going to talk about patching, as funny as that's going to be. If there's any specific upgrading scenarios that you have questions about, shoot me an email ahead of time, todd.klindt@rackspace.com or @toddklindt, because we're going to have a lot of time for demos and those kind of things. So if there's something that you want to see demoed, let me know, and we will try to do that. We're also going to be doing a couple of random admin sessions, all that. The big fun is that we will be doing the Netcast live there Monday night. So 2 weeks from tonight, we will be doing the Netcast there live on the 21st. And talk to Dave Rubenstein today. We will be doing it at SP TechCon. So I had talked to the folks at Rackspace. They were more than willing, more than happy to have me do it at the Rackspace office. The Rackspace office is a couple of miles from the hotel, though. Not a bad walk. San Francisco is a beautiful city. Can't recommend that walk highly enough. But we're going to be doing an all-day deal. We just don't want to spend the time. And for those of you that are going to be at the conference, that way we don't have a darn parade going down San Francisco. So we're going to be doing it at SP TechCon. I don't know the room yet, but Dave asked me today if I was going to be doing that. I've done this the last 3 or 4 SP TechCon, so he was waiting for me to send him that email and ask if I could do it. He was kind of being proactive. So as far as I know, that is confirmed. We will be there. So if you're going to be at SP TechCon, if you're getting in Monday night, swing by and say, hey, once I find out for sure where that's going to be, I will let you all know. In 2 months, I will be at Microsoft's Tech Ed. That is going to be in Houston. And right now, it looks like we're going to be doing a pre-con. That's the only thing that we'll be doing. And that's going to be the all-day deal. It's going to be installing SharePoint 2013, soup to nuts, the whole thing. We're going to be taking your questions. We're going to be using PowerShell and scripting. It's going to be a good time. You will be telling all of your friends about this great session that you saw at Houston. Don't know about doing the Netcast there. Yeah, that's kind of a bigger thing. I'm after trying to get it done at the SharePoint conference, I'm a little nervous, but we'll see. Then in July, the Australian SharePoint conference is 15th and 16th of July in Sydney at the Hilton. And I think it's the same venue that it was last year, downtown. Great location. Going to be doing sessions on load testing with Visual Studio, and PowerShell with SharePoint online and not on premises. So that's a new one for me. It's going to be a good time. And then I'm going to run around down there for a few days and then head over to New Zealand and do the New Zealand Sharing the Point Conference on the 22nd and 23rd of July in Auckland at the Langham. Same sessions. So if you're in New Zealand or Australia, for goodness sake, swing by and say hey. And I'll be trying to talk to as many folks down there as I can. Also, if you're at TechEd or SP TechCon, I will be personally offended if you don't come up and say hey and shake my hand and introduce yourself. I'm a pretty friendly individual. Ask anybody in the chat room. I've met half these people in real life. Hung out with them. I'm a real easy, approachable guy. So if you're going to be at SP TechCon, I'm sure Rackspace is going to have a booth. We won't have one at TechEd, but if you see me around, go ahead and come up, say hey. I would love to chat with you. I'd love to chat for a bit. So I think that is everything for now. Thanks everybody. Chat room's been lively. I appreciate all the witty banter. I'm going to be there for a while, so don't go anywhere, chat room. Thanks everybody that downloads this. I welcome any kind of feedback that you have. Again, you can email me, todd.klindt@rackspace.com, or hit me up on Twitter @ToddKlindt, and I would love to hear what you have to think. Thanks everybody, and I will see you next week.